Hey, you guys are not going to believe how big these beans are. Consequently, it's time to get the sprayer out, spray some fungicide on these soybeans to protect their health as the season goes on so they can finish as strong as they've started. I mean, look at this. These beans are up to my neck. Well, I'm just kidding, but they are about up to my waist, and they're really, really wide and bushed out. In fact, I'm thinking they're going to be pretty hard to drive through, but time will tell. Let's give it a whirl. Now that I got the water turned on and I got 100 gallons or so of water in the sprayer tank, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the pump and turn on the recirculate. With the pump running in recirculate mode, everything in that tank is constantly getting pumped out and then right back into the tank. That stirs everything up, gets everything in solution, and makes you a nice tank mix. Okay, we're loaded. Check that little mirror, make sure we're not about to back over something. Now, the scariest thing about driving a sprayer by far is pulling out onto a road. You got all of this spray boom to look through. I always look to the right and the left at least a couple of times. Try to duck underneath the sprayer. Look over it, through it. Make sure we're good to go. All right, up we go. These beans are extremely hard to drive through. They're really tall, they're bushed out really wide. In certain places you can't even see the rows. If you do it just right, you can get through them without knocking them down. So here's the situation. I just got into this next field of beans. The first field sprayed pretty well. As I said, it's a little bit stressful trying to stay on the rows. Well, in this field, the bean rows are so intertwined with each other that I can't drive down in between the bean rows. If I try to drive with a tire in between the rows, it actually mashes down both rows that are on either side of the tire. So I'm pretty much destroying 4 rows of beans trying to drive through it. So I've talked to a few people, asked them if there's anything I can do, and the consensus is I need to drive the wrong way across the rows instead of with the rows. And that way I'm only knocking down just the width of the tire, and then the beans on either side of the track can kind of fill in and bush out a little bit more. Some other people have had some pretty good luck with this. I've never had to do it before, but it's what we're gonna do here. Can you even see them? You can barely even see where the rows are supposed to be. They're so tangled together. The other minor complication with this is the sprayer does not have auto steer. It's got a low grade GPS. It's not super accurate, but it's accurate enough for mapping. So what I'm gonna have to do is run a line on the GPS and just stare at the screen the whole time and try my best with the steering wheel to keep it on the line. So let's see how it goes. So this is basically what I've got to look at, and I'm trying to keep that line as close to zero as I can. Now we're going 10 miles an hour. I've got nothing that I can look at outside of the cab. So basically I'm just staring at this screen, trying not to swerve back and forth too much, but trying to keep it as close to zero as possible. Well, that's a wrap on fungicide for the beans. Now we just need some rain so they can keep growing. We've done all we can do. So I'm up here at the pasture tonight spraying thistles. We did this a couple weeks ago, and now I'm back spraying the ones that we missed. It's pretty much impossible to figure out if you've sprayed this one or that one when you're out there driving around spraying. But after a few days, they start to die. It becomes really obvious which ones you didn't get last time, and we can just run around and hit those this time. The cows are down in the creek, staying where it's cool, being smart cows. And I'm up here in the corral just checking on the mineral feeder. I'm just gonna peek in the curtain here, and I can see, I don't know if it won't focus in there. There it is. Got a pretty good pile of mineral left in that feeder. These curtains are actually cattle oilers, which means they contain a mixture of oil-based products and insecticide to keep the flies off the cows' faces. So when they stick their heads in there to eat, it gets some of that mixture on their hair, on their face, and their ears, and their neck, and everything. And then they walk around underneath this curtain under here and scratch their back on it and get some of that on their back, and it really helps control the fly population on these cows. If we didn't do anything like this, these cows would be covered in flies all the time. They'd be miserable, and they would probably get pink eye, every last one of them, because the flies love to sit right around the edges of their eyes. That's a big contributing factor to cows getting pink eye and going blind. Well, there's one that got away from us. Give him a good bath. Same over here. I don't know, those either weren't up yet last time or we just didn't see them. Oh, here's one right here. Dang. I'd say we got that one pretty good. He doesn't look happy at all. Well, we've got a little work to do to the 186 here. As you can see, there's a sticky, oily substance all over the front of the engine. I think it's going to be coolant because we've been having to add a fair amount of coolant to it. The oil level has not been going up, so I don't think the coolant's ending up in the oil. I think it's coming through the radiator and just getting all over everything, getting mixed with dirt, turning into this black sticky substance. There's even some little bits of coolant spackled all over the windows, so we're gonna have to address this. Well, the new radiator showed up for the 186. Tina went down and got it a couple days ago. So I had a little time today. I got this thing out in the driveway, hooked up the pressure washer and got it all cleaned off, got some engine degreaser and cleaned up the whole front of the engine, cleaned up all of the panels that were all oily and the fan and the water pump pulley and all the stuff that was just totally grimed up from this coolant leak. Now I'm hoping beyond hope that the coolant leak is the only issue we had. There was a bunch of black residue, sticky residue all over everything, inside the fan shroud, all over the front of the engine and the pulleys and whatnot. I hope that there isn't also an oil leak of some sort on this thing, but there was really no way to tell because everything was just so disgusting from the coolant leak. So now that everything's all cleaned up, dried off, we'll get it put back together, be able to run it some. Hopefully nothing else is leaking because I really don't want to have to tear it all apart again. I thought about putting a front crankshaft seal in it when we had it torn down to this point, but I really don't think it's leaking oil, and it would be my luck that it would be leaking a lot of oil if I changed the seal myself. Radiator's in, shroud's in, fan's in, bolts are through the spacer and the water pump pulley. We are well on our way. You got 3 belts in here, Keith. Yeah, one's the air conditioner belt. I mean, I'm a little scared, but not that scared. I don't really see any sense in putting the hood back on. This thing looks great as is. Well, we managed to get that tractor put back together last night. It does look like a tractor again. I did forget to mention that when we finished up mowing before, it was running a little bit warmer on the temperature gauge than we really wanted it to be. It wasn't getting up into the red, but we were having to back off and slow down just a little bit to let it cool off. It was getting up there. And I'm hoping now we got the new radiator. It's clean, it's not all clogged up, and it's not leaking. I'm hoping it runs a little bit cooler. We're gonna hook up the hay mower tomorrow and put it back to work. My brother's gonna put some hours on it here, and I'll be able to give you a full report soon of if our problems are all solved or if we've got more problems than we knew we had. Anyway, I really appreciate you watching. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time.